Understanding facts and dimensions. I've said it before in the Tableau and Power BI series here at CBT Nuggets, and I'm going to say it again. To understand how facts and dimensions work is to truly understand business intelligence. The entire point of business intelligence is to make our data meaningful. And maybe one of the most important ways to go about making your data meaningful is to correctly sort your data out into dimension tables and fact tables. So let's talk about what facts and dimensions are. Your boss walks up to you and he says, "Hey, I need to know the latest sales numbers." Well, what if you just tell him 14 million? I guess 14 million technically does answer his question. You see, we summed up all of our sales and that gave us the fact we sold 14 million, but it didn't actually give any depth or any extra information that he was actually looking for. For instance, who bought 14 million worth of our product? When did they buy 14 million of our product? Where did the majority of these sales come from? And what specifically did they buy? You see, facts answer the question, how much? The things that are quantitative, the things that we can measure. And dimensions give us depth to that. It gives us groupings or categories for ways that we can dice up those measures. And you see, the important thing is that we can combine those to get interesting information. The most classic example is when we combine the when and then the how much. Because when we do that, we get how much over time, usually in the form of a pretty line chart. Sometimes, though, we could use the where we get a nice, cool map. This is going to be a terrible example of a map, but then it shades in based on where the majority of those sales. If we're talking about who, we may have customer A and customer B, and we can compare them to each other in something like a bar chart to see how much our customers were actually purchasing. So why does this matter anyways? Well, we're talking about designing a data warehouse here. We're talking about aggregating and combining all of our data into one place. For instance, we're going to have maybe an HR application that's going to keep track of things like our employees, our pay, vacation times, things like that. We're going to have a CRM where we're going to be keeping up with our customers, our contacts, our tasks that are involved with them. We're going to have maybe a sales application where we're actually going to be collecting transactional information, how much they bought, when they bought. So when it comes to these items, you can see pretty quickly how we're going to have facts in one place and dimensions in another. The idea with a data warehouse here is that we can design our tables based on a fact and then have dimensions linking off of that. That is the idea with a data warehouse. And to really drive this concept home, I've got the virtual lab fired up here. If you want to follow along with me, pause the video at this time, fire up the virtual lab, and we'll get going. I'm going to connect to Client Nug. I'm going to copy our password in here by just clicking on the password and then hitting the arrow to log in. And once we're logged in, I'm going to go ahead and get SQL Server Management Studio fired up here. Let's just go ahead and give SSMS a click. And when it launches, it's asking us what server we want to get connected to. Let's go ahead and click the drop down here and choose SQL Nug 2 and hit connect. And we're connected. Let's expand databases. And when you can see here, we've got the Wide World Importers DW Data Warehouse. This is Microsoft's sample data warehouse database that comes with it. And what I wanted to show you here is this. Let's expand it. Let's expand the tables. And you can see pretty quickly, look at the schemas. They've already given us fact tables, and they've given us dimension tables too. Can you see how this is kind of drilling home the concept of the how much versus the other categories that may happen? We've got order, purchase, sale, holding, transactions. Those are all of the things that happen every day. This is the data that's going to be growing rapidly. And then when we want to apply categories or groupings or any sort of depth to that information, we're going to be looking at the who is supplying it, what employee is selling it, when did these things happen, who is buying it, and where are they buying it at. These are the dimension tables. So feel free to really explore those tables in that data warehouse. Get to know what the dimension and the fact tables are really like, because that's going to be important when it comes to designing your data warehouse. Now that you're armed with the knowledge of what dimensions and facts are, in the next few nuggets, we're going to be talking about how to actually go about implementing them in your design. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.